Welcome everyone to the Python session. In today's session, we'll continue with the Python basics. In last session, we had covered data types. In last session, we had covered the basic data types. We had discussed about numbers, strings, and booleans. And we also did basically some practice on Jupyter Notebook, some syntaxes of Jupyter Notebook, like pressing the character A for inserting a cell above, B for inserting a cell below, understanding when the cell is in blue color or green color, it is in edit mode, and so forth. Having learned basic data types, we got into list and tuples. Basically, those are our data structures. And I explained the concept of mutable and immutable object. In today's session, we will cover list, dictionary, tuples, and sets. The remaining two, I'll leave it for you to practice on your own. So let's jump into list. So we have done all of this. Mutable and immutable objects we have learned already. List. So what is list? A list is a data structure in a Python that is mutable. We understood the concept of mutable. Mutable means, oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot to share the screen, but yeah, it's now shared. So we'll just start off with the list once again. List in Python are data structures that is mutable or changeable, and it contains ordered sequence of elements. So let's just start off with a very basic syntax. A rectangular bracket, open and close. It is an empty list. Note the usage of the type of bracket we are using. Here we are using rectangular, or someone also we call as square brackets. So whatever the name you use, so this is what we use for creating a list. So here my first basic syntax, I just have open and close of rectangular bracket, and it gives me an empty list. I can put certain values in it. I'm putting numeric values. It gives me a numeric list having 3 elements, and then I am putting 3 values A, B, C, and this gives me a list with 3 values A, B, C. So here I've just created a list where I've got certain values in it. In this cell I've got 1, A, and 2. We will directly, all of you will practice this syntax 1A and 2. 1A and 2. Here you see certain values are numeric and certain values are character. A list in Python is ordered sequence of values, ordered sequence of objects. It is not necessary all objects should be of same type. Objects can be of any type. Now, if we have to create a matrix in Python, matrix is created using a package numpy. Okay, so here a list is not a matrix. List is not a matrix. Reason is, when we talk of matrix, typically it is of number type. All values will be numeric. However, you can also create a matrix where all values will be characters. Okay, when a structure is a m cross n structure, m rows, n columns, if that is the kind of a structure we have, we call it as a matrix. To create a matrix, we typically use numpy. It's a package, numeric Python. So the package name is numpy. We will see that in the next next part of the session, where we get into packages, and we will start off with numpy and pandas package. For now, we'll start with the foundation data structures. List is one of the foundation data structure. So I want you to practice the syntax which is in cell 4, and also the syntax which is in cell 5 and 6. Just try it out. If you see this syntax, dot append, in this syntax, what we are doing is we are appending a value 8 to an existing list. The append syntax works in a list because lists are mutable. Lists are mutable. As such, we can add, modify, delete elements from a list. The moment I add an element and again check the my list, it shows the value 1, 2, 3, 8. Similarly, I can change the values of a list. For example, this is my list. Now here I say 3 equal to 100. Now here the 3 is index position in Python starts from 0. So 0 is actually the value 1. The first index position is actually the value 2. At second index position, the value is 3. And at third index position, the value is 8. So when I say my list 3 equal to 100, 8 will get replaced and the value 100 will come there. And once again, if I run this syntax and check, oh, sorry, there is a cursor entered. Once again, when I run this, you can see the value 8 has got modified and it has become 100. So lists are mutable objects. Try out this part of the syntax also. My list, new list, my list equal to my list plus new list, my list. So here what we have seen is how to add element to a list by adding to list. Deleting elements of the list. I say del my list index 0. The first element of the list I am deleting. So del is a function, my list 1 gone. 2, 3, 100, 5, 6, 5, 6. Because I executed this 5, 6, 5, 6 twice, this happened at my end. There are 5, 6, 5, 6. Okay. So what I can do is, this is the 0th element, this is the first, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, fifth. So I can say delete the 6th element. I delete the 6th element. I delete the 6th element once again. It is out of range. 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. I delete it. Okay. So I got 2, 3, 100, 5, 6. This is the output you would get. Now here I'm changing the value at the 0th position and making it from number to string possible. Okay, because list can have objects of different data types. Yeah, this is also you have to remember. List as a data structure, it can have objects of different data types. It did not have objects all numeric or all string only. It can have combination of different types. And finally, I can delete the entire list by just saying del my list. Note, I'm not putting any rectangular brackets this time, which means I'm deleting the entire list. Once I have deleted the entire list, I try to access it. It will say my list not defined, because this list is gone. There is no variable my list pointing to any object after the syntax del my list. Okay, so we have created a list, we have added elements to a list, we have modified the elements of a list, we have made a list with number and mixed type strings, we have deleted the list. And just a next syntax which I am showing you, list can contain a list. So here this is example of a nested list. So for 1 2 3, the initial 1 2 3 are just individual values. If you see after comma, this is a list in itself. A list can contain another list. This is a nested list or a sublist. It need not necessarily have regular data types, right? So just try a nested list also. You can delete the my list and create a nested list. So these are examples of list. Why it is very essential to know all of these data structures is, as we move forward and as we start writing our syntaxes for machine learning algorithms, we will have certain inputs, certain outputs, and we'll have to pass certain parameters, and we'll get some when we call a machine learning algorithm, we'll get some output. At that point of time, when we get an output or when we are passing a parameter, knowledge of these basic data types, data structures is essential, because in documentation it would be require it will be written this parameter will require a list of type something something something. Now you don't know how to create a list, or you don't know how to pass a data a dictionary, because the foundation is not done. In that case, you will not be able to use those functions very effectively, and you will always be confused. Some place I use rectangular brackets, and at some place I use round brackets, and at some place I use braces, as you can see here, and some place I use braces with key and value, and at some place I use these curly braces without key and value. So all of this are all basic data structures. So we are today covering all the basic data structures. If the foundation is strong, our learning of the topic will become easy. So kindly confirm once you have done the nested list. We'll move to tuples. Let's move on to the next topic, which is tuples. Okay. What is a tuple? Tuple is
Raj,
very
sorry
similar
to interrupt.
to, tuples are very similar to list, except that they are fixed length and they are immutable, which means you cannot append an element or you cannot change the value of an element. Okay. Tuples are initialized using round brackets, parentheses. List, we made use of rectangular brackets. So very simple syntax. When I say t is equal to a, if I write the syntax like this, in that case, a is actually a string. So I get type str. But if I have to make it as a tuple, in that case, I just put one comma, it becomes a tuple. In case you have many values, so here you might note that I am not used round bracket because there is only one value, but I can use round bracket also. Okay. Here I've got say A, B, C, D, E, a sequence of values. Now because there are sequence of values, I need not terminate it with a comma. And this time when I say tuple, type T, tuple. So this is just a basic syntax, and I can write the same syntax like this. T is equal to round bracket A, B, C, D, E, and this time what I'll do first is enter. T is equal to, here I'll comment it, shift enter, shift enter. Here single value, it became a string. So I put a comma, tuple. So if there is only a single value, you'll have to put a comma, otherwise it will become a string. If there are more than one values, you need not put a ending comma. to make it a tuple. So what I would suggest, you run this syntax 41 and cell 42. Run the syntax in cell 41 and 42. Okay. Once again, if we have to access the elements of a tuple, we will have to make use of rectangular bracket only. Whenever you have to give index position, be it a list, be it a tuple, or be it a data frame, which we are going to learn when we get into pandas, referring a index position of a row, of a column, or of a element will always happen through rectangular brackets. Okay, so here when I say T4, I get the value E, reason being A is at index position 0, B is at 1, C, D is at 2 and 3, E is at index position 4. Once again I repeat, indexing in Python starts from 0. So here there's a empty tuple, it's okay. Okay. So here I am saying skills is equal to this. And note I end with a comma. The moment I end with a comma, it becomes a tuple. Numbers is equal to, because I have put things in round brackets, it will become a tuple. Okay. So I'll just execute these syntaxes. Tuples and lists are both called as iterables. Here it is very important to understand something. What do you mean by iterable? In programming, you would come across something called as for loop. If you are already a programmer, you know what is a for loop. In case you are not a programmer, then let me explain you what is a for loop. A for loop in programming is a concept where you can iterate or you can loop a particular piece of code certain number of times. So if I have a loop saying for I is equal to 1 to 100, what I am trying to do is I am trying to loop 100 times, and in the first loop the value of I will be 1. In the second execution of the loop, value of I will be 2, and this way value of I will keep increasing and it will go till value of I reaches 100. These kind of looping is done through iterables. So this is called as iterables. Now here I have this 4 elements. If you note the 4 elements, Python, maths, machine learning, 3 elements, not 4. Python, maths and machine learning, they are put in a rectangular bracket. Because they are put in a rectangular bracket, it is a list. I am passing a list to a tuple. Okay. And list and tuples are both called as iterables because we can use list and tuples for looping, for writing some loops, wherein I can write some Python code such that when I go through the loop, I can go through each element of the list object or the tuple object one by one. So in the first loop, it will be Python. In the second loop, it will be maths. In the third loop, the value will become machine learning. As such, lists are called as iterables. We will see how to make use of this for loop later because those comes in concept called as programming structures. However, because I have used the term iterable, I have to explain what is a iterable. iterables are something by which you can run a loop, some objects on which you can run a loop such that you refer one element of a object in sequence, each element of the of that object in a sequence. Those are called as iterables. So here this list is a iterable. The list I am passing into a tuple and assigning it to a variable data science. So data science becomes my object of type tuple, and tuple is also an iterable. So here is a code execution 49 and cell 50. Let us pass a tuple to a list. I'll insert some cells below. So I create here T1 as a tuple equal to tuple Python maths machine learning, and I say L1 is equal to rectangular bracket T1 L1. I am then printing the list L1. Control enter. So here we have got this error. So let me just simplify it. P.
I guess लास्ट में कॉमा है, वो नहीं चाहिए क्या शायद? मशीन लर्निंग के
No,
बाद एक कॉमा है.
that's okay. We'll just create it like this.
Okay.
Tuple expected at most one arguments, got 3. No. So let's just put all of this once again. Yeah. So now here you see this entire object. This entire object is at position 1. How do I know that? I say 0. I get Python, maths, and machine learning. They don't become 3 elements because a list can contain objects of different type. So entire T1 object, when it is put at the position in a list, it goes as element 1. I hope you got the point. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. So and we have to access machine learning, the last one, then we have to add like again square bracket 2 to this same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
L1 0 and 2. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
So if I change the syntax without rectangular brackets, which was there like this, sorry, if I remove these rectangular brackets, what will happen? Let's understand. ID L1, I'll need to put print function.
Print ID. Yes.
Print ID L1, comma ID T1, and this becomes print. Control enter. You'll see the memory pointers for both of them are same. And below I type T1. T1 will say tuple, and below type L1. It will also say tuple because this syntax is saying L1 should point to the same object where T1 is pointing. That's why the memory pointers are same. And type will also in that case remain same. The moment I put a rectangular bracket, T1 will be a tuple, L1 will be a list. The first element of that list is a tuple object. Now in this case, memory pointers are different, and when you say type T1, it will say tuple, and when you say type L1, it will say list.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Note here, I've just changed the syntax. One round brackets, rectangular brackets. Type T1, tuple, type L1, list, and just one more thing I'll add here. T1, 0, Python, L1, 0, Python. What is the difference between tuple and list? Is this the difference which I want to explain? I have a syntax L1 dot append data science L1 0 1 2 3 third position. I get the word data science because I added one more element, but I write the same syntax. I just copy paste it. I don't need to have this one. I run the syntax t1.append, control enter. I end up with an error. This does not have an attribute append because tuples are immutable. What does it mean? You cannot change a tuple once it is created. You can do add, modify, delete to a list. List is a mutable object. Tuple is not a mutable object. This is what mutable, immutable object means, which we discussed in our previous session. So the question you may have is, why do I need a tuple or why do I need a list? So basically there are scenarios where you call something called as a variable and a constant. Do you know what is a variable? Can anyone of you define what is a variable and what is the difference between a variable and a constant? Anyone? In programming, when we use the term variable, variable as the term itself suggests, the value can vary. So a variable is anything of which the value assigned can keep changing. So here when I say L1 is equal to 10, L1 equal to 20, the value of L1 is at one instance 10, at other instance it become 20. Constants in programming mean something of which the value cannot change. Those are called as constants. There are certain times where I want a set of value which I want to pass to an object, and once I have given those values to the object, I do not want that those values get changed inadvertently also. Anyway, it should not be modifiable. If I require such a scenario, if I have such a scenario, in that case, I will have to use a tuple when I have sequence of values to be assigned to object which cannot be later on changed. In that case, I'll have to make use of a tuple and I cannot make use of a list. That's the main difference between a list and a tuple. That's how the utility of a list and tuple. Most of the time, you will be using list. When you work with Python, most of the time you will use list because most of the time we will have scenario where we want the set of values to change depending upon the scenario. Okay, I hope you have got a fair understanding of list and tuple, and as we keep doing more and more programming syntax over the session, these concepts will become more and more understandable depending upon how you keep using them in the programming. So having covered these two, we'll now move to dictionaries. There are many other syntaxes which I have already given in the shared PDF. All of those are basically from a practice standpoint. You can keep doing those practices. Okay. But I'll cover important concepts, and rest of the syntaxes which are like repetitive. Those are from a practice standpoint. We now get into dictionaries. There are certain scenarios where we require the values to be in a key value format. Name, name of the person. Surname, surname of the person. State, capital. There is a key, there is a value. Just like we have the concept of a dictionary. Long back we used to have telephone directories. Okay, and in those telephone directories we would have telephone number as the key, or the name of the person as the key to whom this telephone number, MTNL telephone numbers. In India we have MTNL. So MTNL and telephone numbers, there used to be something called as telephone directories. Okay, those directories had key value pair. Similar concept is here, and that we call as a dictionary. In a dictionary we will have key, and key has to be unique. So in a directory we would have not mobile numbers, the telephone numbers as the key. Corresponding to that we would have the name of the person. Okay, so that kind of a dictionary. How do we create a dictionary? We create a dictionary using a braces. So the moment I run the syntax, it creates a object, but there is no variable assigned to it. The key is in this case key, and the value in this case is value. So let's run this part of the syntax. D equal to Maharashtra, Mumbai. Maharashtra is the state, Mumbai is the capital, Goa, Panji, Rajasthan, Jaipur. So we have state or union territory and their capital. Now when I print it, it shows me the entire dictionary. But if I just simply say D, in this case I'm not referring the index position, I am giving the index key. So when I say Goa, it gives me the value Panaji. So just type the cell 75 to 77 to understand the dictionaries. When are dictionaries useful? When we have something which is in a key value format. For a given key, there is some value. And at later stage, I want to access the values based on the key. Where are these key values more useful? These key values are more useful when we have data which is in an unstructured format, when number of columns are not fixed. Okay, when the data is in unstructured format where the number of keys can keep changing, so we typically use a database which is of a key value format. Some of these unstructured database like MongoDB, Cassandra, okay, where you can store unstructured data. The data is always stored in those kind of databases in a key value format. So this is just to explain you the utility of key values. Okay, we are definitely not going in MongoDB and Cassandra, but at a very high level you should understand more and more terms. So when there is unstructured data, huge amount of unstructured data, where you do not really know the structure in advance. So what you say is, I'll create a structure where you can give me any data, but just you give me key and you say the value of that corresponding key. So later on, based on those key and values, we can retrieve the data. Okay, so that's where these kind of dictionary concepts are useful. In Python programming also, there will be scenarios where we will require data to be accessible based on their keys. So just type this 75, 76, 77. Yes. So username, password. Again, a key value. Username is a key and password is a corresponding value. Key, it becomes mutable. So dictionaries are mutable. So here you see we created a STD code as a key. We change the values. Dictionaries are mutable objects. I can delete a key from a dictionary. I can update the values of a key in a dictionary if you can add, modify, delete a object, a dictionary. In that case, dictionary becomes a mutable object. So here the question that was given was, can I change this value which is in capital to small case? This is the value of the key place, because this values are actually a list. So when I say d1 place, when I run d1 place, it will give me all the values. And when I run this, I have 0 is Pune, 1 is Mumbai, and 2 is Delhi. I've already made it small case, so I'll change the code and make it once again capital. And because it is a list, we can modify. And then this small case has now again become upcase. Now it is upcase. This is again, I'm changing small case and I'm making it small case. Let us now put a round bracket and see what happens. I've changed the value of the key place and made it a tuple object. Now I run the syntax. I get the error. Tuple object does not support item assignment because tuples are not mutable. So we need to make it a list once again to remove that error. Fantastic. I hope all of you have been able to understand now tuple, list, dictionary. Finally, if I don't want that object, I simply run del d1. I delete the dictionary. So just try all of these things that we just played around with. And then we move to the next topic, which is called sets. We now move to the next topic, which is set. Once again, there are lots of syntaxes which I have given. Those you can try as a practice. Now, there may be scenario where you want a set of objects, but those set of values in that object, you want it to be unique. For example, I have this syntax where I have put 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. I write a syntax here, L. L is for list. And I write a syntax like this. And I copy entire thing. And I print what are the values in this. It says 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, and so forth. But in case I want unique values in that object. In this case, I want unique values in the list. What I can do is I simply passed L here. Okay, it's unhashable, so I cannot pass that. But if I were able to, then it would have been great. But here it's saying it is unhashable, it's giving that error. But if I have got certain set of values which I pass it to a set, and then I see what are the values in it, it just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The syntax below is executing. Okay, so here I need to use a function. That's where I was. So what I did a mistake was I did not use a function. If I can run the syntax like this, I have got a list. I pass that list to a function set. Okay, and then I see S, control enter. So I get the unique set of values. So the point is, from a given object, and specifically from a given object which is of type list, if you want to know what are the unique values in that object, we will have to convert it to another object type which is called a set, because in a set only unique values can be there. So the moment I pass it the list to a set using the function set, here when I just typed L here, it gave me a error because I was not using the function. Okay, so I pass it the list to a set and I run this. I get the unique set of values. So this is the usage of a set. Just quickly try this part of the syntax also. With this, we cover the 4 important basic data structures: a list, tuple, dictionary, and a set. However, in all of these 4 important data structures, what we are so far able to see, these are set of values. It is still not in a structure which is like a tabular structure. Okay, now to get a tabular structure, we use a packages called as pandas, or if I want a metric structure, we use a package called numpy. Okay, so we have got set, then we have got slicing. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go. Slicing is basically a function. It's not a data structure kind of a thing. It's a function by which you can create values 1, 3, 5, 7 like this, 2, 4, 6, 10, some sequential set of values. So we can do that, which I'm going to leave it as basically your self work. The PDF is already shared. I'll just complete the casting part. Casting is a concept where you convert a data type from one format to another. So let's just quickly understand here. A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20. If I run the syntax C is equal to A plus B, print value of C is equal to string C. I first don't put the string word. What will happen? It should give me the output. Here str is not essential. But the value I got is 10, 20. What has happened is A, if you note here, I have put double quote, which means 10 is not a numeric value, it is a string value. When I say B is equal to 20, again I have put double quote, which means B is not a numeric value, it's a string 20. C is equal to A plus B. Plus is a mathematical function for addition. But in programming, plus is also used here in Python for concatenation of two strings. This is a concept of technical term is what I'm using, operator overloading. Plus is a mathematical operator. We all know what the plus symbol is. It is used to add two numbers. However, in programming, when I'm using a plus b and the value of a is a string and the value of b is also a string, the programming tool Python understands that here the plus should not be interpreted as a mathematical addition function, but it should be interpreted as a concatenation, string concatenation function. As such, you can understand the plus operator can work as an additive function. The plus symbol can work as a concatenation function because the same symbol is playing two different roles. In programming, we call it operator overloading. This is slightly tech element which I have explained. You can now use this jargon, operator overloading, go on internet and try to understand it more. So 1020, C becomes 1020. So when I say value of C is 1020, it becomes like this. In case I want the output to be 10 plus 20 equal to 30, that is the output I intend. In that case, I will have to say int A plus int of B. In this case, what I am saying is convert the string 10 to numeric 10, convert the string 20 to numeric 20 and do the mathematics. And when I run this, it says 30. Now in this case, C is of type integer. So you can see int. Now when I run the function, value of C is equal to is plus C. Here it executed without any glitch. But here when I'll run, it will give me error. Why? Because here this is string. Here it is number. I'm using plus. Programming knows plus is an operator overloading. But on left hand side, it has got string. On right hand side, it has got a number. Programming tool is confused whether I should do a mathematical addition or whether I should be doing a string concatenation. It gives you an error. To resolve this error, I'll have to convert this from integer to string. That is called casting. This concept of converting an object from one data type to another is called as casting. We have done it here also when I used int a and int b. There I converted string to integer. Here I am converting integer to string. Data type conversion, the technical term is called casting. When you convert a data type from one format to another format, we call it as casting in programming. So now if I run the syntax like this, let me have the error because the same syntax is given below also. If I run this like this, casting, I move it here, it will execute without any glitch. This time on both side of the plus, there is a string. So Python interpreter knows that it has to concatenate two strings in this case. So with this, what we have completed, the data types and data structures and casting. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our next topic, modules and packages. Okay, let me make it full screen. Okay, So basically initial there is a print functions which I'm just showing here. Those print functions you can try on your own. Okay, this is where I'll execute. I'm here having a syntax fn equal to k2, or probably I can say fn is equal to first name Rajesh, ln is equal to surname, my surname, ln is equal to last name. Now here I say first name is colon, and then here note the usage of braces, which means it is a dictionary. And second name is again braces, l name, last name. And then I'm using format, and I'm saying f name, the value for f name should be taken from fn variable, the value from l name should be taken from ln. Okay, if I run this, this is a basically a approach of printing where you're continuously typing the entire string of what you want to be displayed, and these are placeholders. These are placeholders. The value of these placeholders will be filled from this part of the assignment. Okay, here I have not given any name in the subsequent syntax. I have not given any name to the placeholders. If you do not give any name to the placeholders, you have to ensure the values are passed in the sequence in which the placeholders are given. In this case, I need not ensure the sequence is same. The above case where I'm now moving f name, I deleted it just now. Here I need not really bother of the sequence. F name is first, L name is second, but the value sequence is L name and F name. I don't have to bother because there are placeholder names. But here there is no placeholder names. In that case, you have to pass the values in the sequence. If you don't pass the values in sequence, they will take in the order in which you are passing. So here I have put the values now in sequence. I get first name is Rajesh and second name is Jakotia. So just quickly try this print syntax, and then we'll get into input and then modules and packages. So that because I am using this dot format, okay, if I would have closed the bracket here, the print would not have understood. In that case, this would give me error. Okay, in that case it would have printed first name is f name and second name is l name. It would have come like this only. However, because my syntax is not being closed here, it is saying that okay, in this part of the string there is some formatting aspect, and the formatting aspect is that the values of certain variables, placeholders, basically the values of certain placeholders are not upfront given. The values are given later on in the format part of the syntax. So this is basically a feature of the
You can
print
call it
function.
as a listener, right? Because in this,
Okay, now while working, at some time you want some input to be taken at a runtime. So I can use input function. The moment I use an input function, you see a text bar, a text box comes up. I can now put any values, enter. So here I can assign that value to a variable also, and also give you a prompt what value I am expecting. So when I say num is equal to input, enter a number, the prompt enter a number will get displayed in front of you, and I can now assign the value 100, enter. This 100 got assigned to the variable num, which I can display or make use of at a later stage. Okay. However, if you note, the value which I got, a value which got assigned is coming in inverted quotes, single quote. The moment there is a single quote, it is an indicator that whatever value you give, despite I have said enter a number, that is just a text message, and I have given a value 100, but whatever value you give will get stored as a string. If I want it to be shown as a number, I make use of eval function, or I can say int function also. We just learned the casting, so I can use eval or int. Int only when you are sure that the value that is being passed is an integer, but in case the value which is being passed is not an integer, for example 100.56, enter num and eval. But if I put integer, what will happen? It gave me error because the value was not integer, so we make use of eval. Okay, because eval will convert a string to number. Here there is a single quote, here there is no single quote. So once again, what we have covered in this small section is dynamically take input from the user. The input that is taken is typically stored as a string. In case you want to convert it, you can use a eval function to convert it from string type to numeric type. Try out this part of the syntax. Just in case you have executed the syntax and you don't put any number and you jump to the next cell, shift enter, you see the star mark. I now move to the next cell also, the star mark. What has happened is this part of the syntax was expecting a number, we did not give anything, which means the execution of that has not got completed unless I put some value, enter, it will get executed and then the subsequent steps gets executed. Okay, so just remember, when you are when you are running a code where input is expected, you have to press enter without giving any value. It's okay, you have to press enter, only then it will assume okay you don't want to give value, you just moving forward. In case you move the focus of the cell using mouse, in that case the previous syntax will keep waiting for you to give the input. Unless it has got the input, it will not allow all subsequent syntax execution to happen. Okay, I'm sure all of you would have done the input part. This just to showcase that at runtime you can take input when you have some programming. Okay, now let's move to modules and packages. In Python, there are many modules and packages which are already created for the user to do lots of basically coding, which helps the user do lots of work with minimum syntaxes. So there are many packages, machine learning packages, which is say classification tree package, logistic regression package. All of these packages with one line syntax, I can build a logistic regression model of or basically 2 or 3 line syntaxes, I can build a model. What a module or package is? A module is actually the lowest denominator of a Python file. In Python, whatever code we write, in this specific case, whatever code we are writing, actually that code is getting stored as a Jupyter notebook file. The extension of these files that we are creating is IPython notebook. If I come to this home page, here you can see the extension .ipynb, .ipynb, .ipynb. The extension is Python notebook, IPython notebook, which is which can be opened in an internet browser. However, the main type of Python file, the extension is .py. The extension of an executable Python file is actually a .py. We use Jupyter Notebook for convenience. I'm repeating, we use Jupyter Notebook for convenience because it gives us a very nice interface where we can keep running our syntax, and in the cell below we get the output also. However, once you have done all your coding analysis, you want to take your analysis to a deployment stage. In that scenario, you will have to write a Python file, .py file. Now to create a Python file, you can use another user interface which is called Spyder. Now you can launch Spyder something like this. If I type Spyder, it shows me Spyder on my command search prompt. The other way of opening Spyder is you can call Anaconda. Rather than calling prompt, I'll use Anaconda Navigator. The reason I'm using Anaconda Navigator is if you're using a Mac, then in that case you will have to open Anaconda Navigator, and Anaconda Navigator will be in your applications. So I'm going to launch Anaconda Navigator for benefit of everyone. Anaconda Navigator, it will take some time. While Anaconda Navigator is getting launched, remember that the extension of a Python file is .py. Any Python file is also a module. Any Python file is also a module. So what we will do in the next 10 minutes, we will create a simple Python file. While my Anaconda Navigator is getting launched, I will showcase you how to create a .py file using Jupyter Notebook also. So I want to create a function. The syntax of a function is here, but what I'll do is I'll open a, not here, I'll have to come home page, I'll have to say new, and I will have to say Python 3. A empty Jupyter Notebook with a title, untitled 1 or untitled 2, something will get opened, and I click on that. I'll name it as plus. There is an addition which is already there in my, I just name it as plus. Okay, because I already have a file addition, so I'm naming it as plus. Control V, this is a function which I copied from there. I'm pasting it here, don't worry. What I have done is DEF. DEF stands for define. I am defining a function add. This add function will take two values. One of the variable I'm calling it as A. The second value I'm going to make use of the term B. And in this function I'm doing a very simple task. Result equal to A plus B. Note, I am defining a function. The syntax, the logic of the function cannot be parallel to the DEF word. It has to be indented. Only if it is indented, the function will understand, Python will understand that this add function, after which there is a colon, this line and this syntax, both of them are part of the function add. In Python, you would note we do not make use of semicolon. Some programming language, you make use of semicolon to indicate end of statement. In Python, the entire coding is done based on indentation. If there is an indent here, it means these two statements are part of the preceding statement. Okay. Now the file name is plus. This will create a plus.ipython notebook. Where is that plus.ipython notebook? Yes, I've just sorted it based on last modified. Here you can see plus.ipython notebook has got created. Can I create a Python file from this? Yes. How? File. I can say download as, and the font size is bigger, so I'll have to reduce it and come back to here, download as, and I say Python. This file has got downloaded. It says the type of file can harm your computer. Do you want to keep it? Yes, I want to. My antivirus is saying that this can, because it's a Python, it's a script file which can get executed. So it's giving me a warning. So here I have got in my downloads a .py file. Okay, python.py file. How I can do the same thing using Anaconda? There is a new version of Anaconda Navigator. No, don't show. No, remind me later. Do you wish to update now? No, remind me later. I'll do it later. So where is my Anaconda Navigator? Yeah, my Anaconda Navigator has come up. So in your Anaconda Navigator, how you can launch Spyder? Here you have various options, and there will be an option called Spyder. You can click the word launch. Your Spyder interface will get opened up. What I am explaining is Spyder interface and .py file. Jupyter Notebook, the extension of the file is .ipynb, Internet Python Notebook file, which you work with in a Jupyter Notebook in a browser interface. Why we use IPython Notebook? Convenience, ease of usage. However, what is the main extension of a Python file? .py, because those are executables. Why we require .py file and why we need to understand .py file? We need to understand .py file because once our analysis is completed and we want to deploy our code so that at runtime we can start applying our code for new set of data, I cannot have .ipython notebook. On server, I will have to deploy .py file. How to create .py file? The best interface to create a .py file is Spyder, one of the best interface. I'm not saying that this is the only best, but one of the a very good interface to work in Python environment is Spyder. Can I create a .py file from Jupyter Notebook? Yes. How do I create a .py file from Jupyter Notebook? Whatever syntaxes I have written, I will have to go here and say file download as .py. I can do this way. Or how you do it, launch your Jupyter Spyder, you have untitled. See, by default it says untitled.py. Let I'm not sure how can I increase the font in Jupyter Notebook, but I hope this untitled 0.py is visible to you. And whatever syntax we write here in Jupyter Notebook, we write that syntax straight away here. In a Spyder, the way you will have to run syntax is you will have to select all of this together and press Control Enter. The moment you press Enter, you see the code gets executed here. If you want to save it, you will have to say File, Save, or Save As. So here I'm using Save As. I want to save it in a particular folder, K2 Analytics, Python, and Python programming, and PyScripts. Why I am saving in this folder, I'll let you know. This is plus.py. I want to save it here, but it will say there is always already a plus file, because let me check. No, it is the download. It is in download. So here I'll save it as plus.py. So I've saved it here. Okay. Is it reflecting? Yeah, here it is also reflecting. Plus.py is there. Can you see that? Plus.py. What next? Once I have this plus.py, what I can do? Let me remove this. I can write import plus, Control Enter. What did this import plus do? Import plus. Plus is a .py file. I am saying whatever functionality is present in the plus.py file, you read all of those functionalities. And what is the functionality in that plus file? The functionality is, for now, is only add. Now this add is available. How I know? What I can do is plus dot. I press tab. It gives me what all options are there. Add is a function which we wrote, and I can say 3, 10. Control Enter. 3 plus 10, 13. So I get the functionality which I just wrote in my plus.py file, and that py file I can import it here, but I cannot import a IPython notebook file, something saying import plus.ipython notebook. We cannot import because IPython notebook file is not a module. Any standalone .py file is a module in Python. I repeat, any standalone .py file is a module. And the name of the module is the name of the .py file. With this, we will conclude today's session. We have just started off with the modules concept. I know I have not given you time to type the syntax. The module creation, we will start with module creation in our upcoming session. This is exactly where we are going to start modules and packages in our upcoming session. So don't worry that the last 10 minutes of the session you did not get opportunity to type. I had to complete this concept and I have to repeat it also, is what I know. So just completed all of the steps. We will discuss it again in our upcoming session. Till then, thank you and bye bye.